Greetings everyone, this is David and today's video is going to be about free speech and how cancel culture and hate speech are concepts that are actually inherent in free speech unless you're a free speech absolutist. And I want to kind of start with this video by giving an example of even those who are pro free speech, rhetorically speaking, even they believe in cancel culture of some sort. So for example, calls to violence are illegal. And what's the principle behind making calls to violence illegal? It's because it's harmful to society. So it's only logical for anyone to come up and say, well, then we should make any speech that is harmful to society illegal. What does the First Amendment say? Does the First Amendment say that any kind of speech is allowed? No, the First Amendment says that the government does not have the right or power to restrict, speech, but private corporations can. The First Amendment doesn't apply to private corporations. So instead of President Donald Trump or President Joe Biden being able to control your speech, or the Senate or the Congress, they can't control your speech. But Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, these people can, right? These people who own social media websites where most of the online traffic is in and happens and occurs, these websites and the owners of these websites can actually control your speech, right? The owner of Reddit, the owner of Twitter, the owner of Instagram and Facebook, or Meta, right, these days. So the basic question is, okay, speech is always going to be controlled by some groups. They're always going to have the power to allow people what to say and what they cannot say. Because remember, if you're, for example, banned on Instagram, and nowadays all of these corporations, they work together, the example with Andrew Tate's ban, all of these different social media companies worked in tandem to ban this one person. So it's pretty clear that they colluded in that sense. And that doesn't just apply to, it can apply to anyone who's also somewhat famous. So the point is that the people who own these social medias can collude and control what anyone can say and what anyone cannot say. It's not illegal. Most people are not going to complain about it. So the fact is, there's always going to be groups of people that's going to try to control speech. So the main goal of this video is, first of all, is that maybe we should outgrow this whole free speech absolutism stuff, because just shouting about how free speech is important, etc. I've seen this ever since 2015, both in Europe, both in America, all across the world. The world has moved from, yes, free speech is okay, and they were like quasi absolutists, to becoming people who are accepting the fact that these social media companies can actually do whatever they want. This gets to the second problem, and this is the main problem. The main problem, aside from the fact that Mark Zuckerberg and by the way, speaking of Mark Zuckerberg, he actually openly admitted in a podcast with Joe Rogan that when the laptop story of a certain person, who I'm talking about, the laptop should bring an image to your mind. When a certain laptop story broke out during the election, he admitted that, first of all, he got a call from FBI basically saying, you gotta not allow these kinds of narratives because of Russia, etc. And then he admits that for a week there was an algorithmic censor of the story. Because what? Because it's misinformation, disinformation. So these social media groups, companies, again, they can control what is true information, and what is not true information. And they would talk about, we collaborated with third-party fact-check groups. We already know, I've already done a video on this, we already know these fact-check websites are bogus and BS, and they're completely political inside. You just need to go look at the 2015-16 election and how bad Snope and all of these, political, all of these fact-check websites were. They were the ones pushing misinformation. So we already know how bogus they are. So the whole thing has basically allowed for misinformation to take ground and form. And, even the internet has become grounds for, what kind of speech can be controlled. So this gets to my second point. And that is, the problem is not ultimately the idea of canceling people for what they say. Again, the government, in a way, cancels people for the things they say regarding, if they call for violence to a group, that's not considered to be part of free speech. And then these people kind of advance, so if you're XYZ believer, then that should also fall into that kind of category, and we will call this hate speech. The problem isn't cancel culture. The problem is what is being canceled. And that's the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is that good speech that is healthy and valuable to society is what is being canceled, while negative speech that is harmful to society is being very much promoted, not even by the government, but by the social media companies and really companies as a whole. All right, companies as a whole. You believe that all of these companies really care about the rainbow flag? No, it's just because it's popular and they know that if they do that, if they fly that, then they're going to get more customers, right? That's why they don't do that for the Middle Eastern branch of their company, because they know it's unpopular there. So it's all about, what's acceptable, and what is acceptable is set not by, any principled thing. It used to be, religion that set the correct principles of what you can do, what you cannot do, what you can say, what you cannot say. Now it's money hungry, greedy businessmen. And you know what kind of businessmen they are. I don't need to say what kind of people they are, but all of these businessmen, now they have control over culture. And do you think that's a good thing? That is obviously not a good thing. That's the reality. So the conclusion that I want to end with this video today is that everyone, any group, and I don't know, like, I thought this was very obvious, but I still see a lot of people that don't know how obvious this is. But the fact is, all groups that are vying for some kind of influence over society is going to try to have some control over what people can say and what they cannot say. And another point I want to make is that there's a paradox, or one can even say contradiction, in the idea that the government cannot interfere with speech, because the whole idea of speech is given and guaranteed by the government. Okay, it's guaranteed by the state itself. So you can't pull this libertarian move as well. The whole reason you have those kinds of powers is from the government, right? Let me give you an example. If you're going to promote X belief, the government, by its laws, are what protects you from being able, for being able to say these things. It's what protects you from an angry mob, destroying you, basically. Ideally speaking, it's not happening today in America or any part of the world. Well, most parts of the world, some parts of the world is still like okay in that regard. But you get the point, right? So these privileges and the safety and the powers that you have, you all get that from the government. But then the government tells you that, we're not gonna limit you. We don't have the power to limit you. But now with the advent of social media, again with the example of FBI, again, Mark Zuckerberg himself openly admitted this. This is not a conspiracy theory or stuff. This is literally what he himself said. He got a visit by government officials, FBI. He got a visit from government officials, and they told him, we don't want you to allow XYZ kind of speech. And he algorithmically censored kinds of speech that, these people didn't want. And I'll put this video in the description below so you can go check it out for yourself. So that's what I want to end this video with, is that we gotta redefine, re-understand what free speech even means. Okay, it's rhetorically powerful. It's rhetorically powerful to say that, saying good things, getting you banned, is a sign of how society is going. That's a rhetorically good argument. But I think a lot of people, both in America and in Europe, had this fantasy, idealistic idea of what free speech is supposed to look like. And that is simply not realistic. That is simply not logical. And I think that is something that we have to move away from, because we have seen not moving away from that childish idea is keeping you in horrible ideas. Keeping, the Overton window, it keeps on going to the left. And some good things are being promoted by a couple of different groups. Many things are happening in the world, obviously. But the Overton window is going to the left over and over again. And I think part of the reason is this very lazy understanding of what free speech is supposed to be about. So that's all I have for this video. Make sure to share this. Let other people know. Share this to someone that needs to see this. And like it if you like this video. And I will see you all. Hopefully you subscribe to this channel as well. And I will see you all in the next video. Thank you. Goodbye. And may God be with you all.